It's day 430. It's also July 9th, 2020. And we are on Harpers Corner Road in Colorado. You ever wake up in the morning and ask yourself, what am I doing? And more importantly, why? Yeah, me too. Hi, my name's Craig, and this is my story. A story about life out there. For visuals while listening, search Life Out There on your favorite social media platform or use the links in the podcast description. The boys and I spent 3 days parked alongside Blue Mountain Road. Long walks each day with Dougie. Just taking it all in. Just as we had experienced on the prairie below us, a seemingly so still environment comes to life all around you. All you have to do is listen. And with barely a car per day rolling by, it's pretty easy to get the sense that you have the place all to yourself. And with our stop this morning and the day's drive, this marks the third or fourth time we've been through or driven by the Dinosaur National Monument. And while I had learned a lot about the area and its discovery, this morning I came across a video done by a guy named James Puente. He spent 4 days hiking the monument, and he did a pretty incredible job of sharing his experience. And I learned even more.
So I'm driving down Harpers Corner Road, which is 31 miles from the Colorado Visitor Center, which is the Canyon Visitor Center. And I'm gonna stop off at all the different overlooks, old trails, anything I can. So about 15 or so miles, about halfway up the road, you get your first glimpse at the canyon. No one else out here. It's amazing. Human instinct in me is just kicking in. I was reading reviews earlier, and they were talking about being especially lion and bear aware. Someone had written a review recently. They had come across a lion kill site, freshly killed and partially eaten deer carcass with large cat tracks around it. Now this was down in the canyon below where we're looking at Echo Park Campground, which is even more remote, another maybe 10 miles down the paved road and then 13 miles into the canyon. Mountain lions have pretty big range. And with how remote this is and how there's no one else out here, wouldn't surprise me that this is great habitat for them. I don't know why I'm looking up. It's not like they're in the trees. This little trail that continues along this ridge. This must be the viewpoint here. This is incredible. What you're looking at here is canyon overlook. And you can actually see this ridge line up here. That is the end of Harper Corner Road. That is Harper's Corner up there.
Harpers Corner Road is the main and most accessible highlight on the Colorado side of the park, unless you're exploring by raft.
Here at Iron Bench Overlook. It's nice and shaded. This is also much more accessible here, so you could take someone in a wheelchair here versus the other one, as you clearly saw, was pretty rocky, rugged, prime mountain lion territory.
Driving this road makes for a great summer day trip in the Colorado side of the park. If you have a four-wheel drive and high clearance vehicle, adding in Echo Park in the valley below would be ideal.
I think I'm all squared away. Bear spray on one side of my backpack and water on the other. The trail going down here, the end of the road, is Harpers Corner Trail. Let's check it out. So to start this trail, you're walking through a forest of pinyon pines and Utah Jupiter trees. Extremely hardy trees, don't need a lot of water because it doesn't really rain here. It's common that these trees will die and then they'll still stay standing and stay in place for a really, really long time. Speaking of very dead looking old trees. Oh my God. Trail gives way to things like this. Look at this. That is the Green River, and this is Harper's Corner. And what's amazing is almost no one comes here. Well, at least for now. This is insane. Oh my God! Look at this. And what's crazy is there was one other part at this trailhead. Keep walking a little further, and you come up on this. The end of the road, Harper's Corner. Take a look at what it brings you to. Incredible. Just like that, I'm gonna head back to the car. And if you think we're done, that was just day one, just this trail. There's plenty more here in Dinosaur to check out. If this doesn't make you want to come to Dinosaur, I don't know what will. Maybe the dinosaurs themselves, which are on the Utah side. We're going that way. I couldn't have asked.
I think I'm pretty much with James on this one. When you look around at all this, I just can't imagine why you wouldn't want to come here and see it all for yourself. It was also a bit of an eye-opener to see the bear and lion warning signs that James came across. While I was aware of their presence in the area, I'd not seen any actual signage. Just a good reminder, I suppose. But it also made me curious. Why are mountain lion attacks so rare when it comes to humans? I mean, thank goodness they are. But why? As James had seen, they are very capable of taking down prey very near in size to a human. Well, the internet tells me it's because these predators are pretty dang smart. Time has taught them, and they learned well, that humans are weird and unpredictable. We walk around on 2 feet and tend to make a lot of noise, so it's not like we're going to sneak up on them. But I'd also learn that they tend to view us as predators as well, and nature has taught them to stay away from another potential threat. It also doesn't hurt that our activity schedules are for the most part opposite that of a mountain lion. They're most active and hunt during the early dawn and twilight hours. They spend their days resting after their most recent hunt in quiet, shaded, and secluded areas. Again, making me wonder how many of the walks Dougie and I had headed out on were being carefully studied and watched from afar. We were up early this morning, packing up and prepping for our trek up this dirt road. And I realized I hadn't really had the TV on much lately. So I did a quick check-in on the news before heading out.
Hello, you're watching BBC World News with me, David Eads. President Trump has threatened to cut off funding for US schools which failed to reopen. That's despite rising coronavirus cases in the majority of states. The total number of US infections has now passed 3 million. Australian police say they've placed a ring of steel around the city of Melbourne, where 5 million people have begun a new 6-week lockdown imposed after a spike in coronavirus infections. China has accused Australia of gross interference in its affairs after the Canberra government unveiled plans to extend the visas of some Hong Kong citizens. That's in response to the imposition of China's new national security law in the territory. And the charity Oxfam is warning that more people could die from hunger as a result of coronavirus than from the pandemic itself.
And yep, still pretty much all things coronavirus. So I flipped that off. We started our trek up Blue Mountain Road pretty dang sure that we couldn't get any further away from those 3 million COVID cases than we are right now. And then, surprised, we didn't get but 2 miles up the road when the dirt road came to an end and intersected with Harpers Corner Road. Now, we would likely have simply turned on to Harpers Corner Road to begin our trek along its 30 miles to see more. Except our timing was perfect. I pulled off into a large graveled area to watch the show. Cattle and cowboys on the job, and we had a ringside seat. We'd spend over an hour just watching. It looked like 40, 50, maybe a little more head of cattle being brought across the road and down into a lower pasture. As 3 or 4 cowboys did their job, a truck and stock trailer pulled in behind them. 3 more cowboys got out, horse in tow, to join the fun. And then a side-by-side was backed out of that stock trailer. Trusty Dog hopped in with the rider, and off they went as well. And as the dust cleared and the sounds of protesting cattle faded into the wind, the stock trailer and pickup disappeared off down that dirt road in the direction that we had just come from. My guess? Meet up down on that prairie somewhere for everyone's ride home this evening. Or whenever they get those cattle where they're headed. And then, you know me and my random thoughts, I wondered how long it would be before the very cattle I was watching found their way to a meatpacking plant and then off to a grocery store shelf. And just before pulling out onto Harpers Corner Road, I'd also read of the Mantle and the Chew families, a couple of early settlers that would find their way to this Dinosaur National Monument before it was one, and both families would make a life here, farming and ranching. Eventually, most of their ranch and farmland would end up in the hands of the monument and the National Forest Service, but not before each family left their mark and legacy on the land, preserved to this day through historic sites located within the monument. I also found this video.
We've been adopting out Mustangs for about 20 years now. We usually adopt about 100 a year on the average, so they don't end up somewhere in long-term holding or a slaughter facility or something like that.
Mustang will teach you patience. Sometimes it'll take you upwards of a week of every day just trying to touch this horse, you know. Reaching out and just letting them sniff your hand, reaching out, and maybe one day you might get them touched, and then maybe the next day it might take you 3 more days before you can get them touched again. Once you break past that barrier, you pretty well got them. Then they're kind of on your team, they're on your side.
Now I have no idea if these folks are the same Mantles as the ones that made a life here on Harpers Corner Road. But either way, the video showed me that when ranching, it's not always about the cattle. The wild horses or Mustangs in the area need to be considered as well. In a 50-second video, I'd learned that some 80,000 head of these creatures roam the public lands in our country. And it's good to know that there are folks out there helping them, managing populations in a humane way, as the rest of us city folk occasionally cruise through, not having a clue of what life looks like out here. The rest of the day would be spent easing our way along Harpers Corner Road, enjoying every twist, turn, up, down, pulling out every spot possible for photos of the breathtaking scenery. The views out over the canyons from 1,000 feet up are pretty dang awesome. It's like they have their very own Grand Canyon in the making up here. The Green and the Yampa rivers are working their way through these canyons, working just as hard as the Colorado River down there in Arizona. And tons of trailheads, even picnic areas along some of the trailheads if you're up for spending an afternoon in these mountains. And if winter is more your thing, you're covered too. Cross-country skiing and snowmobile use are allowed in many areas as well, which might actually be your only access, given that most of Harpers Corner Road is closed during the winter months. And I couldn't really find much on the name, Harpers Corner Road. Best guess out there is that the scenic drive was named for an early settler in the area. And we also discovered the Echo Park Road. And we were pretty bummed to read that the dirt road is not accessible in an RV or trailer. In fact, signage highly recommends the use of a four-wheel drive vehicle given that it descends steeply from Harpers Corner Road, winding its way down to the Green River. And along the way, you'll encounter several dry wash areas along with that steep descent. Switchbacks aplenty included, all blending in with the stunning views of the rock layers and historic sites like the Chew Ranch and the petroglyphs at Pool Creek. Something tells me that we'll be back for this one when we're more adequately equipped. We ended the drive on a lookout just above Highway 40, learning all about how air pollution from as far away as Los Angeles can find its way to these canyons, proving that no matter how remote, signs of humans, they seem to find their way to just about everywhere. We'd head east on Highway 40, putting Dinosaur behind us. We'd already been out that way, so definitely up for something new. I checked the phone several times along the drive to see where we were, and I guess you're pretty far out there when the phone says simply, Colorado, when asked. As the sun set, we pulled off into a rest area for some shut-eye. It was pretty run down, didn't look very well maintained at all, but good enough for an evening's rest. Probably goes without saying that we had the place all to ourselves. Most interestingly, just on the other side of that rest area, there was a sign. It read, Elk Springs. I wonder what we'll learn there. Turns out, this thing called life comes with a lot of rules. Maybe it's time to break a few. Because you can. No, seriously, you can.